everyone. Welcome to the Opportunity Knocks All Winners Show.
Every single person has a claim to fame, whether that's bumping into a celebrity on the bus, or being forced to participate in some stage show, or being interviewed on local news. Everyone has a story about their brush with fame. I mean, I've been lucky enough to sit down and talk with some of the people that have actually inspired me to do what I do in the first place. But my favourite story, my unforgettable claim to fame, happened when I was just 5 years old, and it was the day that I met the Chuckle Brothers. For those of you who didn't grow up in the UK in the last, 50 years, Paul and Barry Chuckle are a powerhouse duo of British comedy. They were born with entertainment in their hearts. Growing up in the South Yorkshire town of Rotherham, alongside the Miners and the Millers, Paul and Barry were raised by their former dancer mum and comedian dad, Amy and James Elliott. Their brothers, Jimmy and Brian, were about 10 years older, and they'd also broken into the vaudeville world as Paul and Barry were growing up. But by the time Paul and Barry Elliott became Paul and Barry Chuckle, the entertainment world was a very different place. By the 60s, the British comedy circuit was dying because some genius thought it was a great idea to introduce this magical box that brought the stage right into your front room. There were still certain areas of the country where you could make your mark as a comedy performer, but musicals and stand-ups were quickly taking place over vaudeville and variety shows. Entertainers, especially like Morecambe and Wise, were taking what worked from the stage as well as what worked on screen and creating a brand new language of comedy. Now, here and there they'd done a little bit of slapstick, a little bit of music, a little bit of performance, but despite being on TV since 1967, it would take exactly 20 years for the Chuckle Brothers to finally understand what they could do better than anyone else before them. They could bring those comedy routines directly to children. What started off originally as a variety show quickly became a sitcom/sketch comedy hybrid that made the most of catchphrases, recurring characters and slapstick comedy in a way that was, for many of the kids watching, the first time they'd seen anything like this. As I am now an actual fully grown, real world, bill paying, dishwashing, grumpy tweeting adult, my favourite things to watch are your Laurel and Hardys, your Morecambe and Wises, your Tommy Coopers, etc.
It wasn't, was it?
I always enjoyed them growing up, as have my parents for as long as I've been alive, but I really think it's down to Paul and Barry for easing me into that world and waking me up to a whole new type of comedy. Unlike the other entertainers and performers that I'd grown up with, it wasn't just stuff that kids could laugh at. It was translating it into a way that children could actually understand. It wasn't just about crafting fun gags and fond memories. For me at least, it taught me about comedy and about filmmaking.
My treat was to go to the news theatre, and always the news theatre was full of all the things that either delight or bore a little boy. So you sat through Mussolini and Countess of something hitting a champagne bottle against a HMS. And then suddenly in the darkness you would hear,
Now, Laurel and Hardy have always held a very firm place in my heart. If you look at cinematic comedy, an awful lot of that influence can be traced directly back to them. Other greats of the era like Chaplin and Keaton and the Stooges, they shone for their time. But intentionally or unintentionally, Laurel and Hardy changed the landscape. They were the first performers that really seemed to use that medium and, more importantly for the time, sound to characterize and expand on their jokes beyond just a stage show that people could watch in a cinema. It was comedy at its most refined. It was boiled down to its necessities and then sharpened to their absolute point. It was something that you didn't necessarily need to fully get to be funny. It was pure, perfect comedy, and it still holds up 100% today.
The reason people laughed at it was just as a child and everyone watching it. Those that didn't laugh didn't acknowledge it. Those that didn't think it was funny were those that didn't dream.
Paul and Barry, alongside of course the other writers and directors they worked closely with throughout their career, understand the exact same rules that Stan and Ollie set nearly 100 years ago. And above all else, they offer a level of respect to their audience that many of their direct rivals didn't offer. That audiences didn't need to be patronised, and that jokes can be logic breaking and don't need to make sense and don't always need to be explained, so long as they're followed by a sly nod or a wink to the audience that they're in on the joke too. That we're also in this silly situation with them, and ultimately everything's going to be alright. At the time of writing and recording this, Barry Chuckle, Barry Elliott, one half of the double act that has been making children laugh consistently for 31 years, and 1/4 of a brotherhood of iconic comedians, has passed away. By me and by so many other people that grew up alongside them, and by so many parents that watched them with their children, he is going to be missed. His undeniable legacy will live on forever. From the stage to the TV to YouTube, comedy has changed so much since they started out. And especially in this world full of prank shows and Paul Brothers and live streamers and these people who solely exist to trick and lie to kids so that they can sell their merch. I think we need to remember that a little silliness, a little slapstick fun and a wink to the camera and a whole lot of dedication and heart will always win out. From them to us, it is our turn now. When I was 5 years old, I saw the Chuckle Brothers in pantomime. I barely remember the performance, but what I do remember was that they stayed for the signing afterwards. As far as I could tell, every single parent and every single child who saw the show queued up for an autograph afterwards, and as far as I know, they signed every program. I didn't understand what was going on, why we were queuing, or really how impressive it was that I was going to be able to meet them. They both shook my hand and they treated me like a grown-up, again, like I was in on the joke. They asked me for my name, and when I said, I'm Toby, Paul said, "Hey, I like your jugs." Obviously, what he means is he was talking about Toby jugs. But because me and my family are common as muck, I don't think they expected that would make me, at 5 years old, giggle. It's been almost 20 years since then, and as a family, we still joke about it. I'll never forget the time that the Chuckle Brothers told me that they like my jugs. I'll never forget their influence, and I'll always be grateful to the one double act that has consistently lived up to its name.
Hello.
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 You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my
To me, to you, Frank. Here we go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Is that okay? Great. Time for the show.